Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the Bill and Ray Show. I'm out in the shop to make another marble today, and last week I did a UFO that was kind of a wedding cake UFO concept, and wasn't too excited with the results. Well, I still got UFOs on my mind, so I'm going to try a different approach, different design, see how that goes. But I've got a couple of prep things to do first, so I'm going to work on those. And we'll probably cut this video down to just show pieces and parts of some of that. So the first thing I want to do, try and start simple, is a little flat cane with some frit. This is Butterscotch, and we're going to make this up just on clear, and this will be a stripe in the background, and I'm going to do another similar kind of flat cane to be the other part of the background, and that's going to be a little more fancy. So we'll just start simple here. Yeah, I found out something about these lighters. I've had a couple of these for a long time, and when they get to where it doesn't seem like the little ratcheting spring thing is working, I've replaced them, and it turns out on this one it felt kind of funky. You probably can't really see, but inside there in this working piece there's a screw and a nut, locking nut. Well, if you back off that lock nut, you come in on the very end with an Allen wrench, and on the end of that screw, can't see it down there, but there's a screw down there with a little Allen wrench end, and you can adjust it. And lo and behold, I can make this thing keep on a-trucking. Nothing wrong with it at all. It just kind of got loosened up and lost some of this little spring-loaded ratchet range. Okay, got a little paddle here. Pick up some frit on either side. And then I'm going to add some clear glass onto there. Get this frit out of the way. And I need another rod to fill in some glass on the sides here. So yeah, I've gone through a couple of those little lightning bug lighters that are sold through welding supply places, and I really like those for lighting the torch. It's a good little sparker. I see a lot of people just use like a butane lighter or something, and I've always been told, and it makes sense to me, that those are a pretty sketchy thing to lay around on your bench. If a piece of hot glass lands on your lighter, it's going to go up like a bomb. So, this is similar to what I did last week. I'm just going to throw on some clear glass on either side. First one I'm yakking away here. Probably got way too much glass on this, so clear off a little bit. So last week's adventure, several things that I did were very helpful, and I liked what some of the elements did. So every one of these videos, you know, I'm doing this to kind of push myself to do some different things that I haven't done before and learn some things. So some of it is perhaps well-known ideas, but new to me, and some is, you know, maybe it's something kind of original on my part. I highly doubt I come up with anything completely original, but you never know. There's a lot of variables in glass. So the idea of this was to have some little flat sections, which the last time I pulled it out pretty goofy. So let's see if I can do this. Get a handle on this end. It's just I'm so used to heating on one end only to make a twisted cane. And this sort of a just straight pull out is kind of less familiar to me. So I'm trying to go at this a little gently and little by little. I'm going to imagine this application when I need it. It doesn't need to be very long. And I think I'll do the handle on this larger rod. Okay, give myself just a little bit to hang on to. And this one is going to have silver filings, little particles of silver. And I cleaned up this kind of ratty old piece of graphite, gave it a nice smooth surface. I don't often worry too much about the quality of these graphite surfaces, but I haven't been picking up the silver all that well, so I thought, well, I'll try a little maintenance here. Okay, try and get this nice and juicy hot, and grab some silver specks. Now, I gotta trap that silver with some blue colored UV reactive glass. Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about how this is going to come out, but we'll do that on both sides just to double our fun. Make sure I have the right rod in my hand. I just grabbed this blue rod without thinking too much about it. Kind of flash it in the heat a little bit. I don't want the silver to be too burned in. It's going to affect its look quite a bit depending on how much flame it gets on that silver, and then the rest of these effects happen just with the heated glass itself. So I'll drop on a cover of more of this UV reactive blue glass. Blue View, I believe, goes by. What did I just say? Blue V. Yeah, same idea. I just want to pull out a flat piece of this. That might about do it right there. I'm going to use some of this ion, very bright UV reactive glass, and I'm going to use this Neptunium and Electrum. So these other two are these metallic looking colors. Let's try this sequence again. Alright. Okay, we'll start with a little bit different shape to plunge. Yeah, so try to plunge that kind of halfway and then see what happens here when it starts melting together. Okay, that might be doing a little bit better. Trying to get a little bit more of a disc shape. So now this back side I want to encapsulate with some clear. Clean up some of this end. Well, this was along the lines of what I kind of had in mind. Whether we can incorporate that into a marble, that remains to be seen. I think I'm going to try one more like that. So this time we'll leave that cap solid. So we'll just have kind of a ring of hopefully a little open space looking down into the reactive glass in the core. So maybe that'll make a neat little window into this world. This is kind of a pattern that you need really concentric rings or concentric lines on axis, and that's pretty hard to do by hand. It's invariably a little wonky. Or in this case, quite a bit wonky. Okay, this one is the smallest so far. And instead of trying to add a bunch of clear on the back side, I'm going to do that. Really, my thought is to do that after I add it into the marble that we're going to start here in a sec. Alright, now we're finally getting to what I had kind of envisioned. Just a nice little cute bit to put in there. I've had some coffee. How's everybody doing today? We got beautiful spring weather. Lots of our fruit trees are in full blossom, and the weather is decent. Actually very nice. For some years we don't get good pollination because the trees are blossoming at the wrong time and the weather turns nasty, or a big windstorm or deep freeze or something happens and totally screws up the fruit set. But this year I think we're looking in pretty good shape. So we're going to work on getting our base yesterday was one of those odd days. Quite a few things were going on that weren't really very good, and certainly weren't very normal. But I woke up this morning, the energy seems like it had shifted. Things seem to be much better day today than yesterday. Ray's continuing to recover from her surgery from, well, it's about 2 weeks ago now. She's doing really good. So even with the occasional weird day that everything seems to be kind of screwed up, one event after another that's not great. Some things were good. I was out with our full, basically toy drone, doing some video of all the blossoming trees and around our yard, around our little rental space here. We have a little sage cottage. It's just right next to this building. It's a nice little one-bedroom building with a full kitchen and full bathroom, washer and dryer. Outside's a hot tub. And we just had a couple guests here a few days ago. And they had a lovely time. I think they were here for a wedding. So we love sharing our place with people, with our guests, and it's just gorgeous here right now. It will be really nice for the next 6 weeks or so, maybe, going through June. I kind of debated as to what phase of this initial glass shape for the base of the marble. You know, should I try and stick these things on while it's round, or should I get the cone shape going? I'm a little uncertain as to how best to proceed here. So maybe somewhere in between. I'll get this initial gather to settle down, and then I'll do a little bit of shaping. Oh, and I have the micro opal material, and I wanted to put some dots of that opal material where I'm going to place these little spacecraft. So we'll try one here. this is sort of reminiscent of my last attempt at doing this. This larger piece is way larger than I'd like it to be. This little piece is more along the lines of what I was hoping for. I'm going to try and add a little clear here and spread that out. Well, I kind of screwed up trying to get clear around the edge of the little one. Well, see what we get. Coax this shape a little bit. Alright, now we're going to put down our UV reactive flat cane. Turn this in just a touch. Okay, we'll melt that in a little bit, and then we'll add our other butterscotch cane. He's trapped a little zone of darkness in there from the torch. Alright, well, we're going to move on and do our backing. It's going to be just a jet black background. Alright, we're going to pick a spot here to be our furthest out point. Well, this should be fun. Fun marble. Better get some fume on here. I haven't done any fume here in a while. Put some silver on the backing here. As you keep using the same plenty rods, they get a little bit shorter, a little bit shorter. So eventually I need to swap them out and do something different. Well, these may not wind up looking like UFOs at all in there. Up to interpretation, but it'll be interesting. I was trying to get to a more interesting look without the UV light. And then you get the surprise look when you look at it under a black light. that little crushed opal add-on. I'm going to make some pretty little sparkles there. And a little bit of that goes a long ways, so it's kind of one of those fun things to add. Okay, run a little bit more clear into that gap. Okay, it looks kind of off whack, but it'll melt in and round up and pull all that stuff together inside. been pretty warm weather here, but today's not too warm yet. But I'm trying to get this done in the early hours of the day. It's always kind of intriguing to see these changes in geometry as the clear glass melts. And that little bit of the colored interior stays at the surface. The whole shape gets kind of pulled. The interior shape is being pulled around by that outside clear wanting to, it's basically that high surface tension in the glass that wants to be round, but that actually is enough tension to manipulate the soft glass underneath. I'm going to start trying to widen out this front lens. It's not too easy to do at this stage because it gets kind of out of control, but get kind of off center here. I think I could get it on center very well, so we'll just let it droop a bit. Well, this did get wonky enough. I'm going to try and straighten this up. Before I move on. Okay, let's grab the handle on here. Okay. I'm going to wrap our lines on the back side. We'll start off with some butterscotch. And the tins decided to come back on. Okay, and then let's see, we'll do this IO star. It's kind of subtle, not a lot of color, but it has a little sparkle to it, and it'll pick up on this fumed layer underneath the clear here. And it's a well-behaved color, it seems to me, on the outside. It didn't cause me any grief. Some colors do. Should have my shades down doing this. Colors get a little bright. So this is Roswell. Nice alien green color. Okie dokie. I keep forgetting to get my mug out here. This has got dragon patterns, his and hers dragons on here. Ray did all this artwork, and then our logo. Ray does all of our graphics. The shirt. Get these lines all the way smoothed out, melted all the way in. And we get ready to do a rake. Okay, ready, set, go. I really need to replace this tungsten pick. It's getting a little short. Oops. First little boo-boo. Last loop. Back to center and pause a second and then pull this out. And get a decent termination on the pattern. And then a little patchwork. Okay, I think that's it. Alright, well, got all our color put down. I do see one bubble I need to deal with. Okay, step one, find the bubble. Try and chill it down enough. Okay, well, I think that's dealt with. Now, before I go on to the next phase, I need to kind of set my torch. Hard to fiddle with settings when I got both my hands full. big fat lip edge there to tear off. I'll get rid of some of that disturbed glass. Okay, now clean up the edge here. Yeah, I don't do that all the time, but took off kind of a big fat layer there. And now I need to actually come in and do the edge. this up. An odd shape to get going to a marble, but this is my process. And clean off all that glass on the front lens and then melt that down. Use a little bit of a spin to push that glass out in the circumference. Even things up in the Walmart for just a minute. Alright, we'll pull that back and get that front lens out there, and then we're going to transfer. But first we got to let this cool down until it gets fairly solid. Let that ride free in my right hand until it sets up a little bit. Another kind of slow phase of this operation is getting this colored section to soak some heat all the way into it. You want to get all this glass kind of moving in unison, or Not sure how exactly to describe it, but you want it to be a heat gradient into the core. That when it starts moving things, it'll move things in a nice gradient geometry. So given enough patience, you can just kind of let the glass rotate with gravity and round out. We use our marble mold to kind of coax things along here. We have to be kind of gentle and careful here not to make any gross distortions. So you see the ends kind of start bunching up, but it leaves that kind of gap in the belt around the metal. Kind of squeezing those halves together, it feels like sometimes. So I like to get the bulk of the final shape done at this punty stage. And then in the last punty connection on the back side, I can just focus on making that front lens smooth, basically, really, kind of not really doing too much to the curvature. So we need to get that belt with the dip in it to come together here. Get pretty close, then we're just going to do a lot of rotations on the back side here. Let that core cool down. And then we're just going to hit it with a flame polish. Get it good and toasty hot, and pull it out of the heat and keep rotating and let that settle down. That'll be our final shape on the back side. Final heat on the back side as well. Okay, that final punty is put on with what I might call a warm seal. It's not quite a cold seal. This marble weighs a fair bit. On that little attachment point, you don't want that too delicate. Kind of focusing most of the heat on the outer face. first run in the marble mold is kind of tricky. Not to get any big ripples going. I want to just be gentle and try and get it spinning up quickly. What I'm kind of looking for is see that it fills out the marble mold, that front little face. You can hear that little rattle rattle. Clear glass gets soft easily, so it's pretty difficult to get it to be super smooth in the mold. So once the shape is pretty much there, then you're just going to do heat cycles. Kind of get it as hot as you think you can get away with. You don't want to be messing with the overall shape at this point, so once it gets good and hot, you gotta let it settle down for a minute. Now I just kind of try and examine the reflections and the light transmitting through it. And everything looks pretty decent. Another pretty long session for me. I'll have to cut this down as much as I can. Well, I still like to just show the whole thing. If you want to skip through it, that's your deal. Most people do. I'd skip through it if I was watching it. But I hate just losing pieces of the process and or fast forwarding through things. I don't really like that effect, because I'd rather see the real time in parts that I care about. And if there's parts you really don't care about watching the whole thing, that's fine. Or if you've seen me do it a bunch of times, may not be much point to watching it again. Get that end all heated in. Yay. Well, I don't know if it was worth going at it a whole nother time to do something similar, but I did a lot of things differently in this one too. So that's kind of part of the idea here, is I'm trying to just explore how to get an effect that's in my head. Usually doesn't translate that well into the glass, but even if it doesn't translate properly, that's kind of cool. I think this is going to be pretty wild looking. Alrighty guys, into our cozy kiln again for another annealing cycle, and on to bigger and better things. Well, I wish you all the very best. Thank you so much for tuning into our silly fill and ratios and watching through some of our videos. It means a lot to us to have you spend your time. I know your time is valuable, and I just want to thank you all and wish you the very best. And we will catch you on another adventure, another day. Catch you next time.